in Basque country, right outside of Bilbao, was the absolute best restaurant I've ever been to.
They were the second restaurant on a 3 Michelin star tour on our honeymoon. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out.
It was basically like an Alice in Wonderland
Oh, yeah.
adventure experience.
The creativity was out of this world.
Chef Eneko Atxa has 5 Michelin stars to his name, with restaurants around the world in Spain, UK, to Japan, and is one of the youngest chefs to earn 3 stars.
The flavor combos were very whimsical and really shocking and unique. Once you entered the restaurant, it took you through this forest experience where you're having a picnic in one room, and then they lead you into a greenhouse area where they have little bites for you to try, and everything's very whimsical.
And then take you to the back kitchen, and you can watch the whole team put everything together.
Yeah.
And then finally, it'll take you to this beautiful dining area. Just have a gorgeous view.
They actually made the absolute best dessert I've ever had, so stay tuned for that. So this right here was one of those picnic baskets that they had in the entryway when you first walked in. So you open it up and there are three different bites and then one little drink.
Oh yeah. Just right off the get-go, you take these tiny little bites. Each of them just explode with flavor. You got this crunchy little bite of smoked fish and this little brioche.
Yeah.
You bite into it and it's just like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, they were teeny tiny, but you bit into them and
Like,
it was just
oh my
mind-blowing.
God, what the hell is going on?
How much flavor they had.
And I love Iberico. And then this one tiny piece they give you, the nutty flavor of the cured Iberico ham blows up in your mouth and you're just like, what the heck?
And then they had like a piquillo pepper ice cream little bonbon bit into it, and it tasted like peppers. It was just so cool. And at the end, they had a little drink that you could just toss it back.
A little cocktail with a little bit of pepper spice with it. Very creative, great way to just start the meal.
They start out with a bang.
So next, they take you to the little kitchen where they show you where all the dishes are prepared. And here is where one of the most mind-blowing dishes we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Absolutely just maddening what he was doing.
So the first thing they brought was a little truffle meringue, I guess almost kind of like a little sandwich. You just bit into it and it just dissolved in your mouth and exploded with truffle flavor. Very shocking considering the tiny bite that it was. And then they had these little vials of, I guess it was like a vermouth cocktail drink to wash it all down with. So much flavor considering how small the bite was.
Oh, and then this next dish was absolutely incredible. So this is their famous truffled egg dish where he actually cooks it from the inside. And you see it on full display where he gets a syringe and injects warm truffle soup into the egg yolk, which then cooks the egg and keeps it warm while not breaking the shell of that egg yolk. Like, what the hell is going on here? And then when you take that whole thing in your mouth, it just pops. You're just like, what the heck? All this dense truffle flavor with the fresh egg. Oh my goodness. I could have like 10 of those.
I don't even know how they didn't break the skin of the yolk, but it was, again, mad scientist level shit. So then when they led you into the greenhouse area, they started you off with this rose bite. And this was daiquiri flavored. So you basically kind of bit the end off of the rose.
Yeah, it's like a little gelatin.
Like a gel.
Very delicately placed together.
And when you ate it, it kind of melted with this daiquiri flavor.
Very complex daiquiri flavor.
Yeah, very complex, very beautiful. So this was really cool. I thought this was one of the most creative.
It's like a nice welcoming dish to the garden. All right, so one of the first dishes they served in the garden was this grilled roasted red mullet. And oh my God, the texture on this was just perfect. It had the crunchy skin on there, but then the meat was perfectly cooked, super soft.
This melted in your mouth.
Yeah, literally melted in your mouth.
Yeah. So tender, moist. And then this was just, again, another little one bite ikura salmon in a cone.
Yeah, and ikura just burst with that salmon egg flavor. Just a nice little texture combination that they infused together.
Okay, so this was their interpretation, I believe, on a caipirinha cocktail. So again, kind of a molecular bite. Solid on the outside, popped it in your mouth, bit into it, and it burst with tea-infused rum and passion fruit flavor. So, really good. Then after we were led to our table and sat down, they started serving the amuse-bouches. And this was the very first thing they brought out. Again, really cute plating, really whimsical. And then you just kind of take those brown leaves at top and bite into it. And it's almost kind of like a leathery, chewy, sun-dried tomato flavor.
Again, it's this juxtaposition between, you know, what it looks like and your expectation of how it tastes,
Right.
being different from what it actually does. Next up, following the same motif of this garden style of plating, was this asparagus cream. And this one was, oh my god.
So good. This is so good.
This is asparagus like you've never tasted
Yeah.
it before. It's got that little crunchy shell and also the cream on the inside. I believe they use white asparagus as well as regular green asparagus, but just explodes with condensed flavor of asparagus, but just perfect cream, just super smooth, and you just wonder like how they even did it. Ooh.
This was so good.
Yes.
This was really good.
So much flavor. This was his take of a fish taco using super fresh, locally caught fish.
And it was prepared with this chili and garlic infused sauce that they cook fish with in Basque country. And then the taco shell is actually a sun-dried tomato shell.
Yeah.
And it just added a lot of flavor.
Yeah, and you can tell the fish is seasoned perfectly. Very tender, very fresh, and all the flavors just fused together perfect.
Oh,
Yes,
this is so good.
this was one of the smallest bites, but packed probably the biggest punch pound for pound.
Just tons of crab flavor. Then it had a little meringue bun, kind of like a little teeny tiny sandwich. You pop it in your mouth and the meringue melts, and then you're hit with that strong crab flavor. Just so good.
Yeah,
So, so good.
super fresh crab.
Yeah.
Just killer. This was a super unique dish. This was foie gras and lime. Literally, they have this foie gras sauce and then they hollow out a lime and then add some lime flavor and then put that foie gras in there and just take bites of that. And oh my god, I love foie gras, but this took it to another level. Crazy.
And then they brought out molecular olives, which we've seen in Spanish cooking. Again, bite into them and they burst with olive flavor on the inside. Really well done here. Okay, and this was the next bite that they brought out. This was a little shortbread bite, so really soft bread. And then on the inside had diazabal cheese, so Spanish cheese.
Yeah, the fresh bread, you can tell they put a lot of thought in making that texture nice and soft and airy with the fresh cheese. Perfect blend between the two flavors. Oh yeah, this is a tempura oyster, the butter and olive juice on the side. This was immaculately cooked. You can see the nice thin crust of tempura on this oyster, and we put a little bit of this sauce on there, this nice cream sauce. When you take a bite out of it, it oozes with this mix of seafood and the creaminess. Everything matches perfectly together.
Okay, and this was a dish that they brought out that was beet flavored. They had, okay, so this was really cool. It was actually a beet sorbet. It was cold, and then it had like a little veggie tempura bite on top and then olive oil pearls, and you just ate it all together in one bite. The beet sorbet was really cool because it was beet ice cream and it tasted amazing. So you had this cold component with the crispy fried component and then the olive oil pearls. It was just super flavorful, and honestly it's really good even if you're not a fan of beets. Okay.
Ooh, this one was incredible. Probably
Yes.
one of the best dishes of the
Yes.
night here.
Yes, agreed.
This was a shrimp with vegetable juice granita. So it looks like it was just granita ice, and you're like, okay, it's gonna be like watery or something. It's just very translucent.
Yeah.
You expect the flavor to come from the dollops of cream there. The crazy thing about this was that ice on top was infused with tomato flavor, really strong and fresh tomato flavor. And then with the head cheese of the shrimp in those dollops, and the flavor combination of the whole thing just blew you away because you don't expect that ice to be so flavorful.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you expect it to just be water, like ice on top, keeping the raw fish cold, but no, so much tomato flavor. And then you get the creamy component from the head cheese dollops, and then the silkiness of the scarlet prawn. Just so fresh. This was one of the most shocking dishes of the night.
Oh wow, so this cod tart was incredible.
I remember they brought this out, and this was really cool because the course had two components. So on one hand, the cod tart, and then on the other hand, they had this broth that you drank along with the cod tart. But the tart itself, I just remember this was definitely one of my favorite dishes of the night. I just remember the texture of the tart. You bit into it, and the filling was just this silky cod filling, and it just contrasted with the crunchiness of the tart shell, but it was velvety and thick and fresh.
And this again highlights the juxtaposition between the expectation of this cod that visually not as striking as some of the other dishes, but when you bit into it, this had the most flavor of all the other dishes.
And then after taking a bite of the cod tart, then you wash it down with the savory broth that came with it.
Perfection.
Yeah, these two together were fantastic.
Ooh, yeah, this was amazing. This lobster, they peeled it from the shell and they grilled it perfectly, but also kept the middle nice and soft, and then just lightly grilled the edge of it. And then they accompanied it with this really dense sauce and little dollops of grilled pepper juice and purple onion. The flavors of it really brought out the freshness of the lobster.
Yeah, I mean, how can you go wrong with lobster, right? They brought this out and you know it's going to be good. Cooked perfectly, and then the pepper juice was very flavorful, but it didn't compete with the lobster. Yeah, this was just perfect.
Oh, next was a hake dish.
More hake.
Yeah, more hake. This was the hake cheeks, I believe. To be honest, I'm not a big hake fan, but they make a pretty decent job here. The sauce was nice and creamy, got a little undertone of vegetable, and a little bit of spice to it as well. Yeah, it all came together really well.
Yeah, I remember the hake was really silky. The texture of the hake was really silky, and it paired really well with the sauce that they made because the sauce was kind of silky. So it all went well together.
Oh yeah, so this dish was pork trotters and some caviar on top of it, and they put this nice dense gravy over it. It's almost like a refined meatball. An Iberico ham trotter meatball with some caviar. You bite into it and it bursts with that nice nutty Iberico pork flavor, and mixed with the texture of the caviar really balances out all the flavors.
Oh yeah, this. Okay, so this was the dish I got in place of your meat dish. This was a mushroom dish that they brought out. They basically cut mushrooms so that they resembled pasta, and then they swirled it all together and brought it out with little dollops of mushroom cream sauce. And they were just so tender and so fresh and so much flavor. It was earthy and woodsy and a little bit of spices from the sauce and the cream. This was just fantastic. Okay, and this was really good too. This was really good. This was another hake dish, but they prepared it fried this time. So just very lightly fried.
Almost like a tempura batter they put on top of it.
And it was served with a little bit of sauce on the bottom, maybe like a reduction. And had dollops of pesto to bring in a little bit of freshness, and then the Spanish cheese bonbons. And so these were really cool because when you bit into them, they were actually like liquid cheese.
It's almost like it's boba, so it's cheese boba.
Yeah. Super surprising.
Amazing.
And I think the brown dollops were a mushroom.
Like a truffle mushroom cream.
Yeah, this was so good. This
Beautiful.
is really good.
Yeah, and then for me, I had pretty much the same thing, but served with Barrio pork. And again, this pork was super tender, cooked to perfection. It was sous vide and then lightly pan-seared on the outside, mixing the different textures with it. Absolute perfection.
Okay, and then next up was the palate cleanser course. So this was really cool. This was actually prepared tableside. It was basically like an iced mojito granita that they churned tableside. It had mojito flavor, so a little bit of mint, lime, and it was very icy and refreshing. And then up at the top, you can see on the rim, they have like a little bit of chili powder and gave it a little bit of spiciness. It just kind of cleansed the palate before the dessert courses. And this was the first of the dessert courses. This was a very lightly flavored honey custard.
It's like a very
with
delicate,
foam on top.
Yeah, so it's like a honey flan, just very light, with some floral hints to it. I think it was just kind of an introduction to the dessert courses.
Okay, so this was my favorite. Oh gosh, that's hard to say. This was at the top. This is one of my favorite dishes of the entire meal. And this was, without a doubt, the most creative dessert I've ever had in my life. This was a chocolate dessert with black olive ice cream. I never would have thought that those two flavors could go together and work successfully, but they really did.
And that just goes to show kind of the creativity behind it. He's not afraid to bring flavors that you wouldn't expect. This thing was incredible. I don't even like olives.
Yeah, it was essentially a little cakey bite, chocolate cakey bite over the chocolate ganache. And then you can see the black olive ice cream there. And then at the bottom, there was some black olive dust as well. And then a little chocolate truffle. I mean, the black olive ice cream alone was really unique. And
you have the different textures.
Exactly.
You've got the softness of the ice cream, the crunchiness of some of it.
Yeah, the powderiness.
And then the powder of the chocolate. Like
so
four different types of textures all in
temperatures.
One. Yep, and temperatures.
So I think the ganache at the bottom was a little warm when
that's
they brought
right.
it.
And the chocolate,
and melting the olive ice cream. This was unbelievable. I love when chefs can bring you something and blow your mind with the ingredient combinations. He really did it. This was a phenomenal way to
masterpiece
end the dinner. And I was super impressed.
So that was Azurmendi, and definitely the best dining experience you can ever have. This was at the pinnacle of all the restaurants we've been to. The creativity of the dishes, the service, the dining space itself, the flavor profile, everything was immaculate.
Right. This was my personal top pick for best restaurant. I just really appreciated the whole experience. It was so much fun to be brought out each dish and see what the chef was going to combine in terms of flavors and ingredients. And then the nature theme was really fun. And the flavor was all there. The chef's palate was really bold, not shy at all.
We like chefs that aren't afraid to stretch the palate of all the different dishes.
Yeah, don't be shy. If you guys are in Bilbao, highly recommend you guys check it out.
Recommend.
If you liked our video, please click like and subscribe, and we'll see you in our next one.